What's up, everybody? I'm back again with part two. New shirt, new day. Um, I'm gonna continue my story where I left off, but I hope everybody's having a good day so far, and I hope trucking is going well. And I'll just pick it up and go on where I left off. So, yeah, he brought me to a private room where he told me what all is in the policy, because I read that when you go to a trucking company, any trucking company you go to, don't matter, read through the damn policies, read through the handbook, read it through. People are like, F it, I'm just gonna do the job. I don't care about that as long as I'm doing everything right. No, read through the policy. When you read through the policy, you know what they're legally binded by. If you don't, they can take advantage of you and doing stuff more than you're legally obligated to do. And that's where you need to read the job description and record your information where you applied to come on the onboarding process with the recruiter, because the recruiter is supposed to spill the tea on what's all the job, what all you're supposed to do at the job, and what a typical day will be like. Because when I talked to the recruiter, I only came on to that company for a specific reason that lined up with my schedule. And what I mean by schedule is not like I need this, and this. I need something that will make me feel more comfortable. Like, I need weekends off, and I'm not going East Coast, West Coast, down south. I'm staying in the Midwest. That's what this job was, or so I'd hoped. Um, and the main reason why I got that corrective action plan was mainly because I refused a load going to Atlanta, Georgia. Mind you, I only get paid 53 cents a mile. And that's considered high paying because I had over 3 years of experience. And I totaled it up. I was only going to make $350, $400 for that load. And I was going to be gone longer than I'm supposed to be. And then, mind you, after my physical therapy got done, they're like, "Oh yeah, you're supposed to work 6 days instead of 5." I'm like, that's not what was in the job description. You guys said available for dispatch 5 days a week. You didn't say anything about 6. And that started a whole nother argument. Sorry, I might be covering the mic there. I'm doing this all from my phone. It was just a big back and forth with that. Because I read through the whole job description. Said available for dispatch 5 days a week. You get your premium pay if you're available for dispatch. I was available for dispatch. Never refused any load. They sent me long haul loads all the time. I never refused any load. Only loads I refused was going to Atlanta, Georgia. I had loads going from where I lived, which was St. Louis, Illinois area, to Columbus, Ohio to St. Paul, Minnesota, back to the main terminal in Cedar Rapids, back to Columbus, Ohio to Wisconsin, Michigan, all of that. I did all those loads. And then the 2 times, well, it happened more than twice, but that's besides the point. Because they tried to make me go to Atlanta, Georgia right when my physical therapy ended. And I said, no, I'm not doing that. That's not what I signed up for. You said Midwest regional. This isn't Southeast regional, East regional, West regional. Midwest. Atlanta, Georgia is not in the Midwest. I'm not going to Atlanta, Georgia. They said, I am required to do whatever they want me to do. Meaning they could send me to California. They could send me to Washington, Florida, Atlanta, Georgia. Refusing that load is grounds for a write-up, and too many load refusals was grounds for termination. In the policy, they said we can deny any loads, but we just won't get paid that day or whatever it is. We won't get our full guaranteed pay. I was like, that's fine. I'm not going to Atlanta, Georgia. I'll just make the money up, doing a little short haul or, a little 300-400 mile load in the Midwest. So that was a whole different issue. So after I got done talking to him in that private room, he slapped that paper down, slid a pen and a piece of paper to me, said, we're going to need you to sign this, or we'll just have you sit in the truck at the terminal until you do sign it. That's my only option. I'm like, I was about to just drive the truck, or I was just about to leave the truck there and have my girlfriend come pick me up. This is only like 3 hours from where I live. And I was like, rent's coming up, insurance bills coming up. I gotta make money. So I said, F it, I'm gonna sign it. And he was like, don't worry, it's really seldom that you get loads to go into Atlanta, Georgia or Denver, but we require you to do that. I said, okay, that's fine, as long as it's not all the time. I was like, whatever. As soon as I signed that piece of paper, guess where I was dispatched? Atlanta fucking Georgia. So right then and there, I was like, my back's hurting, because it was still hurting at the time. I'm not making this up. Because I was in that truck for been working 6 days. And anybody knows the Freightliners, man, their suspension is really stiff. Like, you can feel every bump in a Freightliner, and it hurts. And my lower back was just killing me, and I was like, I gotta take off. Like, my back's hurting. And I had an attorney at the time, and the attorney was sending them my documentation. And if they fired me there, my attorney would sue them for not abiding by my, disability and stuff like that. So they're like, all right, we're just going to dispatch you back home. So they dispatched me back home. And once they dispatched me back home, the HR department called, and she gave me an FMLA or whatever it's called, where you take 2 weeks off. She's like, after the 2 weeks is up, you're no longer an employee. But if you show up before the 2 weeks are up, you're still an employee. I was like, that's fine. So I waited the day before the 2 weeks was up, and I called and said, I'm turning in my truck. So I turned in my truck. Or two days before my 2 weeks was up, I said I'm quitting, turning my truck, and they had to dispatch me a load. So they dispatched me a load from somewhere in southern Illinois no, it wasn't southern Illinois. It was Columbus, Ohio, to Joplin, Missouri. And that was just one long run. And I got to freaking Joplin, and they gave me one of the worst shippers in the freaking world. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I was there for a whole day waiting to get loaded. But I was talking to other drivers there, and they said that they've been waiting there for like 5 hours, and it was a strict appointment time. I counted the trucks. There's 10 trucks lined up waiting to get loaded. I was like, so this is what they're doing. So I talked to some of the drivers. Some of the drivers like work for companies too. They said, F this, and they all just took off. So I did the same thing. I said, just cancel the load. I'm leaving. Like, this is taking too long. I've been here 5 hours already. And they cancel the load, and then dispatch calls. And they begged me, like, can you please take this load? Please take this load. I was like, no. I've been here almost today. I'm going to miss my bus back home. They're like, please. They'll move you in the front of the line. I was like, all right, frick it. Whatever. I'll have this extra load on my pay stub. So I went there. I was still waiting for fucking 4 hours. I was pissed off. And I talked to the attorney about it. They said you should have just drove that effing truck back to Cedar Rapids and parked it. I was like, I would have, but I didn't know what the legal terms were. Like, they could have said I stole the truck or, all that type stuff. I didn't want to have DOT pull up behind me, guns drawn, saying I was stealing the truck. Because they'll do that type stuff. So I went on with that, got back. I didn't tell him I quit. I just left the truck there. Or I told him I quit, but I parked the truck, locked the key in there, and I just got an Uber and over to the bus stop, and I went home. That's the last time I talked to him. And I talked to OSHA about the working conditions and all this other stuff. Because I complained to all the crap that I was doing and all this other. It's all a whole bunch of other legally binding stuff. It had a whole investigation going on, and man, when you get the feds on them, they really throw you under the bus. Like, they really dislike you when you do that. So when I did that, like, they made me sound like the worst employee ever. Like, oh, he never showed up on time. He was late for all these loads. We compensated him more than he was supposed to get. And I was like, really? So I talked to the investigator, because he's a third-party investigator. He was supposed to take both sides of the point. He doesn't represent me. He doesn't represent the company. But what was weird, when he called one morning to explain my side of the story, he was like, well, it doesn't sound like a retaliation. It sounds just like a civil. I was like, it's retaliation. Like, everything changed after I got into my car accident. Like, all the stuff they were doing, they wanted me gone. Like, how do you not put two and two together? He's like, well, my suggestion is you terminate the investigation and you have 30 days to appeal. I was like, what did they tell you, bro? Did they offer you $10,000 just to tell me to terminate the investigation? Because that's my whole mindset. Like, I'm not paranoid, but I know there's some grimy money talks. And when they said that, I was hella confused. I'd even told my fiance, I was like, they told me to terminate the case because they said that I didn't have a case. They said I was just chasing money. I was like, well, they were dispatching me on places where I couldn't get my guaranteed pay. Like, I don't know what you want me. What do you expect? I showed you all the documents. They're like, yeah, but you don't have the ample proof they did that. I was like, you're correct, because the company is in control of all that information. All of it. Like, I don't think these attorneys understand, like, companies like that have one click of a button and they delete all their evidence that you have against them. It's that easy. So I don't know how people, like, are successfully suing these big trucking companies when all the trucking companies have the information. Because since this new Isaac system was put in, you read a message, and it can be a nasty message. You read it, it automatically deletes the message. If it's a personal message. If it's a load, it stays on there. But they automatically delete the messages after you read them. And they said when they first installed it that it was a feature so they don't have a whole bunch of messages on there. But they know exactly why. So everybody that thinks they should be buddy buddy with their dispatcher, they'll throw you under the bus real quick. Same thing with the safety director and any of the higher up CEOs. If you guys want food for thought, go to each company you worked for and type in lawsuits or type in civil disputes or anything like that. There's shit ton for Marten, shit ton for West Side. There's every company I've worked for has a shit ton of lawsuits from them treating the drivers like crap and them not paying them what their correct salary was. But that's a whole different story right there. So what I'm doing now, you probably guys want to know, I'm not in trucking no more. I got out of it. I'm doing IT stuff on the computer, customer service, and I love it. I don't have to deal with nobody. I take care of myself, my family. I only work part-time, and I'm getting by. Like, I love it. I don't have to be behind a wheel for 11 hours and listen to a dispatcher bitch about me being on time or needing to pick up this other load. I'm waiting for this next settlement to hit, and then I'm buying me a semi, and I might just park it and make sure it's completely ready, because I'm probably gonna get in trucking as soon as this presidential candidate gets elected. Because as soon as he gets elected, I give you 4 or 5 months, the market's gonna be booming again. I promise you that. The reason being, he's probably gonna opt into some new rules and guidelines for the DOT and stuff like that, where it'll make it where you have to have a certain amount of years as a company driver before you can become an owner operator. Because some people are just getting their CDL, running for a year, and then becoming an owner operator. That shouldn't be how it works. It's still taking me over 2.5, 3 years to understand the whole business. Right now, I say, yeah, about right now is probably the perfect time for me to start learning more about the business. But 90% of the stuff I have is common knowledge and secondhand nature to me, since I've dealt with this kind of stuff in the past. But just know that if you're a new driver, stick with your company. If you have a good company, just like the last rant I had, you'll know it's a good company when they're not on your ass. Like, Marten was a good company until the management got involved. Management is the only red flag at Marten.